Let's continue with Chapter 10's lab. So we've got our export sales data here organized by week and by marketing year. And what we want to do is calculate the cumulative sum of the sales and also the pace of use compared to what was reported in the WASD report for export sales. So that means I'm going to insert here 2 rows between each marketing year. And in one of the rows I'll put cumulative sum. We'll do that in a second. And then put pace of export sales here. And we'll do that for each marketing year. Control C, Control V, insert, insert, Control C, Control V. Okay, so the first one isn't too hard, the cumulative sum. We're going to be able to use the familiar sum function, which you've probably all used in one way or another. The only difference is we're going to say, I want to sum from this to this, which seems weird. That's just one cell reference. But in the first part, we are going to anchor the row. So in the first cell, it just sums that one cell, so that's not that interesting. But if you pull this down a little bit and see what's happening, it is summing from the first row all the way down to the current row in each case. So that's exactly what we want out of a cumulative sum. So I'm going to go ahead and fill it on down. And maybe we can copy this formula over. That looks right. So let's fill it down and then copy it over. Control C, Control V, copy it down. Okay, that was easy enough. Now what we're going to want to do in this column is be able to say, what is my cumulative sum divided by the total export sales in the WASD, which we obviously don't have yet in this table, so we're going to have to go and get some information from the WASD report. So let's do that. I'm going to delete that because that's kind of a temporary thing. But in here I will make a place for it. So let me put the different marketing years that we want. We want 14, 15, and we want these to be formatted as text. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and format these as text. 15, 16, 16, 17, and 17, 18. These are the marketing years. And these are, we're going to go and find the WASD export sales. And then we'll put those export numbers here. And those are going to be in million bushels. We'll have to keep that in mind because the units of this table is in pounds, and in the WASD they're millions of bushels. We'll have to do a conversion. So to get that information, let's navigate back over to the web. And I'm going to Google for WASD and follow through here to our familiar website. And we can go with the most recent one to get some of this information. And remember, this is soybeans, not corn. So we're going to go past page 12. Page 12 is our corn WASD report. If we keep going to page 15, you'll find the report for soybeans. And here we're going to be able to get our most recent estimate for export sales in 2017, a very good estimate for 2016-17, and finalized numbers for 15-16. So we can get most of what we need just off of this report. So what I'll do is I'm going to come over here to the export row and trace across and say, okay, my 2017-18 number should be 2250. I'm going to toggle back to my spreadsheet and put in 2250. 2250 is my export sales number for 2017. Come over here to this column and get my export sale number from 2016. That's 2170. 2170. Toggle back. And for 15-16, my export sale number is 1942. 1942. Okay, now we got all 3 of these from one report. We need to go back in time to get the export sale number for 2014-2015. Now remember, we are going to want to take the number from the end of the marketing year so that we have what was actually the finalized number, or the very good finalized number. So I'm going to go to like October of 2015, which will show the 14-15 marketing year with a pretty finalized number. So I'm going to toggle back here And I'm going to go into the archive, scroll down a little bit, choose the 2010s. I'm going to open up 2015 year, and if we put something late in the year 2015, let's go for October. This is the October WASDE report from 2015, back down to page 15 for soybeans. Here is a pretty finalized estimate for 2014-2015 elements of the WASDE report. So if we come here for exports, it should be 1843. I'm going to toggle back to my Excel spreadsheet and put in 1843. 1843. Okay. We are very close to finishing this thing. So remember, this number for the WASDE report is in millions of bushels, and we need to convert that to pounds. So we're going to do that up here. I'm going to make just a little label there that this is pounds. And we're going to need how many pounds per bushel are in a bushel of soybeans. So I'm just going to put it here, pounds per bushel. And you can look it up on the web, but most people just use a number of 60 pounds per bushel. And to convert this to pounds then, we're going to need to take this number that's in millions of bushels, take it times 1 million. 123, 123. And that gets us from millions of bushels to just bushels. And then take this times 60, because we have 60 pounds in 1 bushel. That gets us to pounds. So that looks okay. I'm going to put, instead of typing 60, I should have referenced this cell, and then I'm going to anchor it by pressing F4 to get 2 dollar signs there. And then I can just drag this across. One more. Okay, so now we've got millions of pounds of soybeans in each marketing year according to the WASDE estimates. And we can use these to calculate our pace of export sales. Okay, so these are the total expected or actually finalized estimates of what the pounds of soybeans exported were in these individual marketing years. And here we have the cumulative sales. We can just calculate equals, as of this week, the 6th week of the marketing year, we had sold, let's increase our precision here, we had sold about 8% of our expected export sales in that year. So let me go ahead and format the whole thing. Oops, I'm just going to go down like this to the bottom, and let's do 2 decimal places. And we want this cell to be fixed, so I'm going to press F4 again. I want to fill it down and fill it up. Okay, now as of the 1st week we'd sold almost nothing, but by the 6th week we've sold 8%. By the 26th week we've sold 80% of our export sales. Okay, and then down here we get to 100%. Let's do that over here as well. So I'm going to do equals cumulative sum divided by the total pounds for 15-16. And I'm going to anchor that by pressing F4. Let me just fill it down and then get 2 decimal place per precision. And you can see the numbers are off just a little bit between what was in the WASDE and what was in the GIPSA, but we won't worry about that too much. Let's do it here for 16-17 as well. Equals cumulative sum divided by the 16-17 number. Anchor that, fill it down by double clicking, and then expand it to 2 decimal places. Let's check the bottom. We get almost to 100%. So one reason that this can happen, that we don't get all the way to 100%, is notice that we're just at the end of August here. Sometimes we have carryover stocks, right? And so sometimes we'll be selling old crop when we even get into September and October. So that's why when we only go to September, we don't get necessarily all of the export sales for that crop completely finished. We need one more column over here, so we can do our 2017-18. And if I do my export sales, I'm going to divide the cumulative sum divided by the WASDE estimate and anchor it. And we don't need all those zeros. And so what we've found is that as of the 5th week of the marketing year, we've already sold 13% of our expected export sales. Now let's plot all of these pace of export sales columns together to make some comparisons. So I'm going to select all this stuff, go to Insert Chart, and do a line chart, make it a little bigger. And notice this is not right because we don't have the correct x-axis selected. Although in this case, it's just numbering them from 1 to 52 anyway, and that's what our x-axis is. So actually, I think we're okay to just leave it. So if I want to add some data to this, we can right-click, go down to Select Data, choose Add, and I'm going to call it 1516 because I'm going to go get the 1516 information, and I'm going to choose the Y values, say OK. I'm going to add another one. I'm going to call it 1617, get the 1617 information, add another one, call it 1718, go get that information. Okay, and I'm going to change this name to 1415. Missed that before. Okay, now I want some labels on this, so I'm going to select this chart, and I'm going to come up here under the Chart Tools menu and the Design submenu. I'm going to choose Quick Layout, and I'm going to choose this one because it's going to put that legend over here. That's going to allow me to keep track of which marketing year is which. And to make this a little more informative, we'll put week of marketing year, 1718 pace of export sales versus last 3 marketing years. And I don't think we even need that title. Okay, we've got what we need. Alright, so notice what the shape of these curves look like. They start out and they have a very steep slope when you're going from about 5 to week 25 of the marketing year. And that corresponds to the fact that when we looked at those quarterly export numbers from chapter 9 and chapter 10, we saw that there was the highest level was always in the second quarter of the calendar year. And that corresponds to this steep slope in weeks 5 through weeks 20 of the marketing year, because that's going to be when countries who are importing our soybeans and our corn and everything else that we harvest in the fall will be purchasing pretty aggressively to capture in on our seasonally low post-harvest prices. So you see that there. We get towards the end of the marketing year and stocks are getting lower, prices are getting seasonally high, and so export sales kind of slow down at that point. So these first few weeks of the marketing year are really important to determining whether we're going to see a strong export number and possibly revisions upward by the USDA, or whether the sluggish sales, which would be represented by lines falling below what would be the last few years' pace, whether that might suggest that the USDA is going to have to revise downward their number for what the total export number is going to be. Alright, so that's how to interpret these lines. Now let's take a look at what the prospects look like for 2017-2018. And you'll see that here we've got this short little yellow line for the current marketing year that we've just entered. And it looks like the pace is starting out to be actually quicker than we've seen in the last 3 of the marketing years. So that's good news. It's a little hard to tell much by this first part of the pace of use curve, but it's not a bad sign anyway. If we stay above all of these 3 curves, then I would expect maybe we're going to need to revise upward that export number. If it kind of crosses over and comes in the middle here or below, then who knows what's going to happen. If it goes too far in that direction, we may have to revise downward that export number. And because of this kind of discussion and your ability to kind of monitor where we're at in terms of whatever point in the marketing year we are, people watch these curves and they keep updating them basically every week to get a sense of whether they should forecast a revision up or down in that WASI report. And that allows them to make decisions as you get to report time, whether or not to do some hedging or lift some hedging, or if you're a farmer, sell some grain forward, or make a speculative bet. These kind of analyses would inform all of those decisions. So that's it for this lab. Make sure you take in all of those concepts. I think that the knowing how to do a pivot table is a really important skill for being able to do analysis within Excel. So I hope you take time to absorb that. And I hope you take time to absorb what these pace of use charts mean, because that could be something that I could show you on an exam or some other kind of assessment. I guess exam is really the main assessment that we have, but I could show you this chart and ask you to interpret something about what's going on in the marketing year. So keep that in mind, and I'll see you later.